Expecto Rebutus! Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Dear KDO reviewing. Yeah, man, we finally got our first trailer for the Harry Potter series. Or in this case, Harry Potter and the Philosopher Stone. The right way to say it this time, instead of actually Americanizing it as they did before in the movies. Now, let me just start off by saying it was inevitable that we were going to get this, and the moment they announced it for HBO, where, oh, we're getting a Harry Potter series, where I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fantastic Beasts, for as much as those movies were, where I feel like, okay, we had it up in the first movie, then some controversy with Johnny Depp kind of messed up the future plans on how they were actually going to do his character. But then I said, you know what? He's good in it. The second one was decent. The third one, I feel like, yeah, there was a lot of complications behind the scenes, and it must have been a reason why the series had to end after three movies instead of five. But once they announced the actual cast for the show, and I said, well, it's one of those things where I feel like, okay, we're in that stage where, yeah, reboots are plenty throughout every type of movie franchise out there. We have Marvels, the DCs, Star Wars. We're lucky we dodged that bullet. But I can't say there's been some good ones lately because I feel like the one actual decent book to TV adaptation is Percy Jackson so far, where I feel like, yeah, the movie franchise has ended after two. It didn't get the chance to actually go forward with the franchise as it could have because I feel like at the time there were five books and now there's supposedly seven, where I feel like, yeah, this is past my period. But I feel like with Harry Potter, it's kind of different in this case because I feel like those movies and that franchise actually kind of shaped the way I enjoy it. And this way I could just say it's a lot of backstory into the way I actually got introduced to Harry Potter. So just listen up before I get to the trailer. So 20 years ago, I was introduced to the wonderful world of movies, actually fully gaining awareness to every movie I saw. And whenever I looked at the posters on the walls, I was like, huh, that's interesting that I can read it and understand it. Not realizing that the internet back then was unfiltered, where we could have actually look up stuff and actually search up trailers for things. I ended up finding my sense of adult comedies in that way. But for some of the bigger franchises at the time, 2006 was one of those, oh, I'm introducing myself to this. So this is going to be my, okay, if I watch this, let me see what I can feel about it. So like then I can watch the other movies instead. And by 2007, Order of the Phoenix was coming out, and I saw my dad wearing a shirt that had like the whole Hogwarts school in the background with the back saying Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and I was like, oh, I've seen that. That's on the movie theaters. And I was like, you know what? Let's watch the movies. And my dad had the whole movie collection up to four, where I was like, okay, so I can watch everything from the Sorcerer's Stone to the Goblet of Fire, and let me see how it goes from there. And for my early years, I actually grew up with the franchise, and not gonna lie, the last and first movie I've seen was basically Deathly Hallows Part Two in theaters, where I'm like, I watched everything from the build up these past couple of years, and this is my first and last time seeing this in the theater. So that whole experience was just something. And seeing as that we're going into a TV series, and I'm not gonna lie, with some of the castings, I'm like, okay, I'm picky either depending on what I've seen you in. But for some of the castings, I'm like, okay, Snape is the biggest controversy. Where I'm like, yeah, even I who read the books know that that's not supposedly the way he looks, and not in a bad way, or should I say a race way, as everybody's trying to make it out to be. But the way he's described in the books, where I'm like, so does that kind of imply that James Potter was a mischievous child in this case? Man, I'm just calling it out now, but it's gonna feel weird when Harry calls him out for being mischievous and he's doing bad things in the background, always accusing him. Which I'm like, yeah, you can look at it through a different lens, but it's also one of those. Yeah, I still don't know. I just got to see it within context. Even the way this looks, because I feel like with the set photos I've seen, yes, it looks similar to the original movies, where I'm like, Hagrid looks like almost Hagrid, just with different actors in pose. And I could just say with the kids, they look a bit more younger than I expected, because I don't even know if it's just me, but I feel like everything, like every generation of movies you see, the way kids look, where in the original movies, all these kids were around the same age. But I feel like, yeah, there's something different where I'm seeing as though these kids, like Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert, were all actually mature for their age doing these roles, and they grew up with the roles actually trying to be like, you know what, we're doing justice to these characters and commit. Well, these characters, where I'm looking at them like, yeah, they just got hired, and hopefully they can actually try and bring out the magic, because some of them are similar to the way visually they look in the books. Because I could be like, you know what, this is kind of like Sorcerer's Stone book cover Harry, but I'm like, yeah, they're still too kiddie for me, for my taste, where I feel like they look younger, but it's not like Percy Jackson, where I feel like, yeah, Percy Jackson is supposed to be a teenager and grow up with it. But I'm like, yeah, season one, I kind of see the cracks because we've seen that story already. We're right up to season two, where I'm like, okay, now we actually fully committed and they're actually doing the story and actually growing up with it as it should be. Whether I'm like, okay, yeah, they're gonna improve with age, and I can just tell some of these are newbies. But we'll see after this trailer because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not totally against reboots of committed franchises, but I feel like yeah, with Harry Potter, I feel like you could have still built a universe around it because it was technically the wizarding world of Harry Potter at the time. And everything revolved around it and didn't reboot in a sense that, oh, we don't need a reboot. Everything is done perfectly as it is. But who's to say this show will make some commitments to the book where I'm like, yeah, I remember this and this being changed. But who knows if they actually might do it justice because I feel like, yeah, saw the movies first, then read the books all the way through high school and I was like, okay, me knowing everything with context and me knowing everything from the books and the movies, I can just say, you know what? I wouldn't mind them actually committing, and now that they have 8 hours instead of 2.5, I feel like they could actually make some improvements. But it's the castings and everything. I'm like, I've seen this story before, and I've seen it done already, perfected, and actually done justice. But now it's like, yeah, I gotta watch this now. Hopefully, they could actually do it as well as those guys because I feel like, yeah, that's the thing with reboots. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Sometimes when you finish a story and it feels like, okay, this is definitive, this is the only way people are going to view our characters. And once you take that away and say, you know what, forget them, we're going to introducing this new crowd for the younglings. I'm like, yeah, how should have ended kind of predicted this years ago.
I mean, where does it end? Do we reboot Indiana Jones? Do we reboot Lord of the Rings? Do we reboot Harry Potter? You hush your face.
Hopefully, I'm proven wrong. So in that case, let's get to the trailer.
I told you.
Vernon.
You are a normal boy. And you're going to start acting like one.
Huh. Now this is something from the books before he goes to Hogwarts.
You think you're something special?
And this one too.
There is nothing special about you.
New series.
I've always wanted to know about my parents.
Your parents were the kindest, bravest people I ever met. They were funny and clever.
Something about it still
They
feels
stood up for what
off.
they believed was right. The next time I
It's almost
see
like the
you,
colors should have been
call me
desaturated.
Osmonds.
At least the train looks the same.
Mr. Potter, I think we can expect great things from you. Let's see who you are.
Out in the snowy environment, okay.
Are you really Harry Potter?
Alright. He has a little bit of that Ronish tone. For a teaser, it kind of gave us a little bit of what we already know from the main story, but something about it is that it looks similar, but in a way, I feel like it's more of that whole they're trying to, I wouldn't say modernize it, but it has that you can tell this is 2020 style of filming versus 1990 or early 2000s when they actually started it. Like, first thing I want to talk about is the colors because everything here feels like a little bit muted. Where I feel like, okay, everything from the books to the movies, where each movie had its own sense of directors and tone. Something I can appreciate about the early movies and the way they actually progressed is that the colors didn't look muted at first. Everything symbolized the years and everything showed that, okay, everything is going to be in a bright, happy tone as it starts out. And then throughout the movies, I feel like it was around Prisoner of Azkaban, which was a good blend of, oh, we had the light tone and a little bit of the dark tone. But after the middle of Goblet of Fire, where I feel like, okay, where they're in the Triwizard Tournament and everything switches, once spoilers when Voldemort comes back. After that, in Harry Potter, you didn't even see the sun. Everything was just gloomy and cloudy. Where I feel like, okay, as the story kept getting darker and we're getting close to that main war, it was a nice way of progressing the story because you actually saw everything was light and fun as they were kids. But now that they're fully grown, yeah, they had to mature and actually find a way to make it through it. Because I feel like, yeah, at that point, even if I didn't even know how the story ended, I was like, hopefully they can actually get through this because I feel like they're in dark times and we're losing characters at this point, so I don't want them to get washed. As for the kids, I can just say they're fun. We've seen two of them. We've seen a little bit of Harry and a little bit of Ron at the very end of that trailer, where I'm like, okay, the kid who's Ron, you convinced me a little bit because I feel like Ron is one of those cases where I'm like, he was a good character, and we got to understand that, yeah, he's basically like, I don't even want to say the Weasleys are one of the best characters, where I'm like, yeah, I love George, but I can just say Ron, he's an underdog. He's the one who actually kind of did lead his way to actually trying to be a likable against Goblet of Fire. I feel like at that point it was like, yeah, I'm done doing Harry's sidekick, but I like seeing him at least happy to see as though, oh, you're the Harry Potter. Even the kid that plays Harry, because not gonna lie, nobody's gonna replace Daniel Radcliffe. But I feel like this kid, I don't even know if it's just me, but I feel like something tells me the way we saw Harry in the books, in certain aspects where I'm like, okay, in this trailer specifically, I saw two scenes that were specifically exclusive to the book, where you saw Harry at St. Gregory's right before he goes into Hogwarts, where he was being bullied by Dudley in this case, where I'm like, you know what? He's wearing his clothes, and funny enough, I did kind of see that it kind of hand me downs. It kind of is oversizing him, where I'm like, that's a good difference of scale. And the scene where he's getting his hair cut by Aunt Petunia, but in this case, in the books, his she cuts his hair, but then his hair grows back and it's all shaggy and stuff like that. Where I'm like, huh, see little things like that where I'm like, see, if you would have included like something like that in the movie, it would have shown a little bit of backstory. But in this case, you have to skip a little bit of the things. That's why the whole movie starts out with Dudley's birthday, and it actually goes right into the whole thing where it's like, I don't know what happened, and they went to the whole aquarium in the zoo. Something tells me that that first episode is actually going to be the lead up, and then once you see everything happen from Harry as he's growing up up until he gets his letter, I feel like that's going to be the whole thing where episode two is going to be with Hagrid is going to go to Hogsley. But for right now, this is just a teaser, and I can just say I'm I wouldn't say I'm too invested. I already have my Harry Potter movies. I already have my lore. I already have the sections of the story I like. But it's inevitable that this stuff was gonna happen at some point. And I could just say hopefully they can do it justice because I feel like I don't even know if they are committing because the same way Disney said with Percy Jackson, we're gonna try and do a season year after year, and they already got season three pipeline ready. I don't even know if this show will actually go on to be yearly because suddenly, for some reason, HBO wants to be on that whole, oh, we'll get a season every 2 years, but not actually commit to actually doing year after year seasons. Where I'm like, you have the story right there ready to go. If you want to commit to it, just commit to it. Let's Game of Thrones it if you want to, because I feel like Game of Thrones at the time of its peak, where I'm like, okay, we had a season every couple of years, but they didn't actually sanction it between 1 to 2 years. They did for the final seasons, but that's a whole completely different story. As for this, we know the context and the ending where it leads to, but I feel like if they actually want to pull this off right, they should actually try and commit to the show and not just say, we'll do it and just wait for these kids to outgrow their roles. Because I feel like if they're not going to commit, then why just do it instead of just having the movies we have on their own? Who knows? This show could actually fix up some stuff I didn't like about the movies because there are some cases where I could watch the movies first, but then reading the books with context around it, I'm like, those are some changes I feel like that could have benefited being in the movies, but for some reason they weren't. I'm gonna pull this one out. I can just say Half Blood Prince is my least favorite Harry Potter movie, not just for the fact that half of the movie is just basically their high school stuff leading right before we get into the final battle. But the thing is that that whole story where I'm like, it's fine, but in the book, it's the most important story you need before the Deathly Hallows because it's basically the backstory to Voldemort. And a majority of the stuff in there was changed and cut out where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see these guys get girlfriends. Where I'm like, yeah, reading it in the book is like, wait, all this stuff, and it kind of explains how Voldemort ended up in the back of the head, and I was like, okay, I can't be saying a lot since I feel like if you haven't read Harry Potter, know the story at this point. It's like it's kind of weird because I feel like in this case I can talk about it, but it's one of those cases where I'm like, yeah, does everybody know about it? Because in this case, I feel like it doesn't make any sense to talk about it with spoilers with people who don't even know or introduced to Harry Potter just by watching this. It's kind of weird. We're in that age where some people actually know about the thing, but some people are like introduced to this and see as that though this is their version of the. Oh my god, man! It's just I don't know. It's just funny to me that we're And this is one of those franchises where I'm like, we're in that zone where this is getting rebooted or remade, but I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't be remade because it was already perfect the first time, but we'll see. There's new interpretations of stuff all the time, so there's no excuse in this one happening. All I can say is we'll see how season one goes because I feel like HBO has a knack for actually committing, and once they see that this show could actually be good and have the potential to be, I don't want to say possibly better than the movies, but perfect for real. I wouldn't say hands on, but I want to say if they actually try and commit this to the book, I wouldn't be ashamed of it. Yeah, you could say that there are some things that the movies did better compared to the series because we're going to be seeing a lot of comparisons from the movie and the series. But if there are some things from the book they want to add into the show, I wouldn't mind it. At least keep it tight because I feel like, yeah, they're going to commit to 8 or 10 episodes. But depending on the books, I feel like if you want to start out with for Sorcerer's Stone, I could just say from Sorcerer's Stone to Azkaban, at least make them 6 episodes because they're right around Goblet of Fire is when the book actually gets a little bit thicker. If they want to make it their new hit series, they can try, but there's no replacing the originals. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. All my social media is down in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.